Warning: some viewers may find the following content to be disturbing. Viewers' discretion is advised. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility. The scientists had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to preserve the presence of God. They believed that the five senses clouded our awareness of eternity, and without them, a human could actually establish contact with God by thought. An elderly man, who claimed to have nothing left to live for, was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all of his senses, the scientists performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel. With no possible way to communicate with or even sense the outside world, he was left alone with his thoughts. The scientists monitored him as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that he couldn't even hear. After 4 days, the man claimed to be hearing a hushed, unintelligible noises in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear his dead wife speaking to him, and even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientist. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses and parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of the scientists left the study. After a week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. In every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by hundreds of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to enact a pain response. He begged the scientist for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. The tactic worked for 3 days, until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw at his non-functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hysterical subject now said that the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed, but the scientists were convinced he was close to establishing a connection with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of flesh from his arm. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not kill himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling. his screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as teardrops streaked silently across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to the constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, focused eye contact with a scientist for the time in the study. He whispered, "I have spoken with God. He has abandoned us." And his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent course of death. And that, my dogs, was Gateway of the Mind. A psychology, I guess, creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story? Boy howdy did this surprise me. I never thought I would come across a story that shocked me more than Persuaded did. I love this story. Just the psychology, watching as a person goes insane due to a rapid and disgusting experiment, is giving me Russian sleep experiment vibes, and I love it. I love this story, everything about it. The ending, oh that ending, the whispering, then the death, literally ends almost like the Russian sleep experiment does. I love it. And wonder if, though, this could actually happen. It's the interesting thought. You know, people do messed up things every single day. What if eventually in the future we get so desperate for religion, we perform something like this? And what if we find answers? But anyways, if I have to give an opinion on this story, and a final rating, I'm giving it a 10. Yes, a very rare thing to see, a 10 out of 10. Because I don't find anything wrong in this story. I love it. It's not too long, not too short. It's really interesting. It kept me tensed for the entire time. And the ending was perfect. I can't find a single thing wrong with the story. And the grammar was good, everything was good. That's why. Also, it's psychology, which is a massive plus for me. Definitely read the story. Anyways, this has been The Dark Author. If you guys enjoyed this narration and like to see some more, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Hit the bell so you can stay up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys in the next video. Good night, everybody.